So let us change this value, G and then Y. So instead of Google, let us keep it Yahoo. Now this you need to change this to URL,
Parameter, yeah.
and then again this parameter should be changed. I think Google website address. So I think some web browser might not be capable of. So now this is this, and if you're selecting G, it will display the Google page. So this is for redirecting it to some XYZ websites. So this is one way you can do it. And the next what we have is C colon this, and then C colon import. Google will take less time to load. Let us click. I want to see Google address. It's not picking up this address. Yeah, it is picking up. So this way you can do it. You can redirect the URLs. This website address. Let us pick some and some else. This itself doesn't work. It is working only for yeah. Is there any mistake in the statement? Param dot equal G fine redirect. Redirect and this both should work. You should not have. Yeah, it is moving, but to other webs. Let me just copy this and directly paste it. It's Amazon. I think there is some error with this. Param equal URL equal GY. Let me just change this to this only. This radio button is not working, only this stuff is working. No idea. But this should not happen. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me delete this stuff. We copy this and then again paste it. Maybe there was some sort of typing mistake. So you can, okay, with the help of the redirect URL, you can do this way. And then you have similarly C colon import. You can again specify the URL. Let me copy and then paste this. That's it. Instead of redirect, specify C colon import and then specify C colon import Amazon. Now the difference between import and URL you can observe. If you're using redirect, it is transferring the control from your web page to some other to Amazon web page. But if you are specifying import, it is importing that web page into your website. So this is the code for your web page and this is the stuff that is being imported. You click on Yahoo. Below your web page, it is copying the text. Yahoo.com. What happened again to this? Clear on this? Difference between redirect and I need to run this again. And then next, C colon F import done, otherwise out param redirect remove. So we are done with all this. Okay, you have got these many tags. You've got some skill specific tags in this, as well as you have got some XML tags and then few formatting tags that you can go through. And the last one what we have is JSP standard action tags. So in the JSP standard action tags, you've got few methods, or you've got few standard tags to perform the operations. So these are the few JSP standard action tags. So you will not be using most of them. So let's say if you want to forward, JSP colon forward page is equal to. Now let me try this. Let us see what happens if I put this so that we understand the difference. Let me format the web page. Let me copy this URL. Fine. Let me click on Amazon. It is saying status not found. Now the same if you click, it is able to import. Over here it is able to import, but over here it says status not found. The reason this happens is when you're using JSP colon forward, it should forward the pages within the container. That is, it can be the index or it can be to any of the servlet components. It should be within the servlets. Sorry, it should be within your web application context. Outside the web application context, this doesn't work. It cannot redirect to any web page outside the web application. So instead of this, you just specify index.html. See, over here within the web page it works. Outside the web page it does not work. So with this we are done with the jstl. Okay, we will start with, okay, let me just take an example for this. Uh, uh, Select star from marks when hall ticket is equal to so and so. So let me start the SQL command. Yesterday was Roma able to complete that connectivity to the database? Because in the meantime my battery was completely discharged and it got disconnected. Was she able to complete connecting to the database connectivity? Now over here what you will be doing is in the standard action tags, let me collapse all this. Let us create a form. You've got index.html over here. Let me just copy and paste this form. So you are sending the request to the mark servlet. You are sending the request to the mark servlet. So when you are sending the request to the mark servlet, here it is going and it is giving you hall ticket, F name, and then it is giving you what? Uh, sorry, it is first hall ticket, first name, maths, and then Java. So now let us create a bean class. and then new, create a class by name marks. So let us observe what do we have here. Int string intent, private integer hall ticket, private string name, private integer maths, and alt insert. Now, when you are creating over here, what we are trying to do is we are creating the Java beans. So if you have to create the Java beans, point number one is public class marks. But in most of the cases, it should implement serializable interface. If you don't implement also, it works. And it should be in a package. If it is outside the package, it doesn't work. And its properties should be private, and it should have a default no argument constructor, as well as you should provide public private setter and then the getter method. Let me press alt insert, generate setter and getter methods. I repeat, whenever we are creating a Java bean, so if you want to create a Java bean, you should create a class that should implement the serializable interface. All its bean properties should be private, and this is the naming convention. You cannot write capital M in the beginning, it is incorrect. You have to write the variable name that begins with a lowercase. And the setter and the getter method should also follow the same naming convention. Get followed by the property name. You cannot write get get the name. This way you cannot write. This is not the correct property name. This is the property name. It should be prefixed either by get or set. Now once you have created your bean class, now what we will do is we'll try to access that bean class in jstl.jsp. So if you want to access this, or if you want to create the object of this bean class, what we do is we have got JSP colon use bean, and then the ID. What is the ID you want? So let me give as M, and then class. You need to provide the fully qualified name of the class, beans.marks. Now let me set the property for these. So it has got three properties. JSP colon set property. So what is that? First property name is hot ticket, and the value what I am providing is, let's say, 100. Let me do the same for rest of the properties. Okay, sorry. This should be attribute. Property is equal to hot ticket, and value what we are setting is, let's say, 100. JSP colon set property is equal to name, and value is John. Set What is that name is? Or ticket. Similarly, if you want to print it, JSP colon get property. Name is, what is the name what we have? Similarly, I click and then say run file. So over here you're getting these values. So bean use ID, this is the name of the bean and beans.marks. And then value is equal to, let me just keep it as 10. And for this value, what I'm setting it as, let us test this. So 10 and then jump. Now, if you observe this code is equivalent to writing your bean class. So this code is equivalent to writing this way. Marks, what is that? Marks M is equal to new marks. And then M dot set name of, sorry, set hall ticket. Yeah. Set hall ticket of 10. And then M dot set name of John. So rather than typing it this way, you're typing it this way. This is this way, this is marks sum is equal to new marks, and for set property internally it will invoke the setter method, set followed by this property name, and then set followed by this name, set name. Similarly, if you have to get it as this code is equivalent to m dot get all ticket, and then this is equal to m dot get. So we are performing all those operations in terms of tags.
Atika, can you give us an example how practically it is used? I understand we are trying to make use of a class and an object here, but in a practical project or in a practically when you're doing the project, so where the values will be, how the values will be passed, and how it is being used.
Okay, now over here, if you observe at this mark servlet, So this request is going to your Max servlet. Over here, we have written all the code. Now, if everything goes fine, rather than printing the output this way, you are expected to create the object. Marks m is equal to new marks. And then you need to set all the values. That is called the import statement. So m dot set hall ticket number is equivalent to rs dot get int of column name. Then similarly you have to do it for rest. M dot set name rs dot get string of f name, and then you have got m dot set java rs dot get int of, and then similarly one more subject you have m dot
Math.
set, what was that, mass. So once you have done this, all the code we have written it in the class because we have done this initially. Now store this in the request scope, request.set attribute of m comma m req. After you have done this, then you can invoke the request dispatcher. What is that name? jstl.jsp, and then forward this request. So done. Hall ticket number is 100. Oh yeah. HTTP GET method is not supported by this URL. So let me change this to post. Method is format the page. So here you need to change. From where you're pulling this scope is equal to request scope. So remove this. You should not set this because we are just retrieving the values. 100 and then jump.
Mm.
So this is the scenario wherein you can use. So rather than writing the Java code, you are making use of JSP code and use being tag to perform the operation. So if you have a look at the servlet code that is generated for this, see, this is the code that is generated. Runtime toString beans.marks find attribute m and then get all together. And if you see over here,
So
synchronize
basically, it is a
the
way to make use of the like directly defining the objects and making use of the values directly. Yesterday, I remember the same thing we did, but we uploaded like a variable we accessed. Each and every single value we accessed like a variable in our JSP page. But here, what I see is we are trying to retrieve the entire object itself.
Yes, that is what we're trying to do. But over here, if you observe, that is using the standard action tag. This code is generated if the
Oh,
bean, it tries to find the bean in this request scope. If it is equal to null, if the bean
mm,
does not exist, it creates a new bean.
okay,
And then, okay, over here you find the code for retrieving the attributes. So one
okay,
attribute what it is retrieving is hall ticket and the other is get name. So for this, where is that? For this code, this is the equivalent Java code that is being generated by the container at the backend. Now, if you don't want the bean to be created, if you don't want the bean to be created if it does not exist. So I've changed this. You don't want the bean to be created if it does not exist. So anyway, we are going to get some error. So 100. So where is that code? Over here, this has to be added. Otherwise, it will try to find the bean. So it is trying to find the bean in the request scope. If the bean does not exist, if you observe over here, this is the new stuff that is getting view servlet. See this one. For that code, for the code what we have written, this is the equivalent Java code that is being generated by the compiler. Is it clear?
yeah,
So first it tries to find the bean in the request scope. If it cannot find, it will create a new bean, and then it is storing that bean in the page context. And then what it is trying to do is it's trying to find the attributes, get hall ticket number, and the get name, whatever we have to do. If you add more attributes, it will add the code for that. So let's say you're adding more attributes. 100 because we have that hall ticket number. Now let us see the Java code. Can you see this?
yeah. Mm,
So the purpose of the tags is to reduce the Java coding. So you can either reduce it by with the help of this much Java code you're reducing it. This much code is being reduced. This much complete code, where it is somewhere. See for tag library, if you see this, this is the code for the tag library that is being generated. So this is how it generates the code.
okay.
The purpose of the tag is to reduce the Java code, or else you have to write this much code in your JSP page. So rather than writing this much code on the JSP page, what is this for the username and for some JAG, you are just writing C colon somewhere you have written this. So rather than writing these many lines of Java code, we are just mentioning in terms of tags, and in the backend, your container will execute this Java code set tag this one. This
What
is
is
the
that class called? It's a bean class? What, the original class that you defined?
which
The
class?
getter and setter methods. The no, we created a package called beans and the
Yes,
marks class. I
bean
think it
class.
belonged to. Can you show please?
This is called as beans class. This is called as Java bean. So you're trying to access
Uh,
these beans in the JSP page. Yeah, please proceed.
um, so only the classes that are defined like that, the beans, like you said, like some conditions you mentioned, the serializable one and everything. So only
Yes,
those can be accessed in the JSP page.
yes, yes. Only those can. Now let's say maths we have written, right? So let me remove get mail. Let me comment this. Now you try to access. What are we accessing first? Let us check.
Java, yeah, I think
Okay,
we are accessing the field Java, but you commented out math, I think.
let me go and comment. Hundred. Cannot find the property Java of the beans.marks. So whenever
Okay.
you are writing over here,
Mm.
whereas the jstl.jsp, when you write
Mm.
Java over here, internally it will check for get Java. This
Mm.
internally will check for m.get Java. So when it
Mm.
cannot find the method with this name get Java, it will return you an error message. So that is the reason whenever you are using standard action tags, there is certain convention to be followed when you want to access them as a
Mm.
beans in your JSP page, because that is how the container is defined. If you just have a
Okay.
look or study this code, you will learn. Over here, if you see one on one segment, this one jstl view. So the page did not run.
Mm.
Comment this code.
Mm.
See, cannot find the read property Java. Again, you need to uncomment that so that you get the access. That is the reason you have to define. And then,
Okay.
okay, we say it should have a public no argument constructor.
Okay.
So let us again type 100. So 100 and then John, whatever it has printed. Right click and then view servlet. The reason we say it should have a public no argument constructor is, and if you see over here, if the bean does not exist, it is creating a new bean. What is creating a new bean? It is calling the default constructor. So that is the reason, as per the specification, whenever you are defining the beans, it is mandatory you provide a default constructor. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is all we have for the GSTM. Like we don't have any new concept over here. These are the concepts what we already know, but we are performing the operation in terms of tax. So you should, in order to avoid Java code in the JSP pages, we make use of tags. Uh, okay. In order to comment this is
Sorry,
the tag
can you
what you
tell
should
me
use.
why we use jstl?
Hi. Yes, Hassan.
What it is just why use tag?
Which one JSTL?
Mm-hmm.
Can you please repeat your question? What is the
It,
requirement of going with JSTL? Is this the question?
mm-hmm. Yes.
The reason we go with the JSTL, if you see this, is to reduce the Java code. Whereas this, now rather than writing your complete switch case, this is your switch case. So rather than writing switch case, you are performing our operations in terms of tags. This one. You're not writing all C colon for each. For loop, you're not writing. The for loop you're performing in terms of tag, just to reduce the Java code. Because your JSP pages, it is supposed to represent presentation logic. JSP pages, it should have presentation logic. And so you should not embed a lot of Java code in that. First is to reduce the Java code. And the second thing, the reason you can go with the scriptlets, or sorry, the reason you can go with the jstl tag is it is again a reusable component. And if you observe over here, this is the logic that is being generated. See, this is the logic for C colon set. So if you are
Is
writing,
it
yes,
equivalent to JavaScript?
JavaScript is different, JSTL is different, both are different. JSTL processing is always done on the server side. JavaScript processing will be done on the client side. So your JavaScript will fall under client side scripting, whereas JSTL will fall under server side code. Okay, now let me
So,
just show you one more example so that it is a bit clear. Now under this we
so
have got various other tags. Let me generate a report for the database. Now one what we have used is for generating that was the basic core library. Now let me just keep the name as it is, whatever it is, and then db report result data source. Now this is SQL colon set data source. So if you have to set the data source, you require driver, and then you require password, and then you require the driver URL, and then you require username. These are the four things what you require. So what is our username? Let me just check it. Okay, let me go with HR and HR. So user is HR, password is HR, and URL you can copy it. You can go to the services. You can go to the services, click on databases, and then this one click on properties. Copy this URL, and then you have got driver. And then you can set this data source name variable is equal to Oracle. That is, this data source is for the Oracle database. Dollar of Oracle. Select query I can specify. Let's say select star from HR.employees. Now let me run this file and see what happens. New JSP.jsp. See, this is the data what all I am retrieving from the database. So again, this is with the help of the SQL tag. Now, now the code what you have to write to retrieve the data from the database. So rather than writing all this stuff, result, get, okay, rather than writing this Java code, what are you doing is you are just mentioning, okay, you are just providing the information in terms of tag. In the backend, there will be some XYZ code that will be generated by the compilers, by the container view servlet. So see, this is the code that is generated. Set driver, set URL, this one. So this code will be generated. This is the code that much, okay, this much code it is generated in the background. So it is just to reduce your Java code in your JSP pages. You will go with the what do you say, tags. The purpose of going with the tags or using the tag is your JSP page should only contain the presentation logic. But in order to add the dynamic functionality to the web page, it is mandatory you should add the Java code. So rather than typing the Java code in the literal sense, what are we doing is we are executing the Java code in the background with the help of tags. That is, whenever you are calling this tag, your web container will execute this code. This is the code that is executed for this tag. So over here you don't find any Java code, it is all tags. So just to reduce the Java code from the JSP pages, you will use tags. And one more use of the tag is it is a reusable component. Tags are reusable component. You write once and then you can reuse it multiple number of times. Is it clear, Hassan, why to use tags?
Yes. And how we will define like is both our extension is JSP. So how will define like a jstl and JSP?
You can use both based on your requirement.
No,
If
I'm
you
saying
prefer to
that
see,
my
because
extension
each tag will have
JSP.
JSP, under JSP namespace you are having these many tags, and then under this, okay, you are having these many. Under SQL library you have got these many tags. Under core you are having these many tags. You have got XML tags are also available. From there, okay, you'll have some list of tags. Under format, again, you have got some again other list of tags are available. So based on the requirement, you'll use that. So you have to include the namespace over here. If you see over here, the namespace we have included. You click over here and then let me add a library, jstl library, wantedly I'll add library. So this is the code that is being executed in the background, add library. So if you click over here, see, if you click on that, you have got this one, this code tag, format code tag. So let me click on this. Now you have got import tag, out tag, all these we have executed. So if you're using import statement, this is the code that is being executed in the background. Clear with this? So if you're using any import
Atika,
statement,
is it like providing like plenty of libraries in order to reduce our effort in writing like
yes, that is
repetitive
what we are
code?
saying. Reusable means that only.
Okay.
Reusable as you want to reduce. So once you write it, you can reuse it multiple number of times. So over here you
Okay.
can find this SQL. So under SQL, see over here you have got this SQL. So you have got this query tag, parent tag, set data source. Here you have been using set data source. So if you call this set data source, uh, this is the class that will be executed in the background. So rather than writing the code, see driver source CL, class name, URL, username, and then the password. So this is the Java container will execute this Java code. So in order to reduce the Java code from the JSP pages, we write tags and then you can reuse it in multiple number of times in your JSP pages. Clear with this?
Yes.
Hassan, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So this is the purpose to reduce the Java code, and it is a reusable component. So with this, we have completed jstl. Let us wind up for today, and then tomorrow, what I'll just check if there are any topics left. Otherwise, we'll start with the next topic. So that's all for the day. If you have any doubts or questions, do write to me at java@mindsmap.com, or you can ask it in the next class. So I request you to practice whatever concepts we have learned. Tomorrow we'll be starting with the next topic. So let's find it. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. So bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.